Following the accident, my world dissolved into a haze of pain and confusion. When I finally woke, I found myself stripped of 6 years of memory. The shock was absolute. I was 28, not 22. I was married, but the face of my spouse was a blank void in my mind. The only thing I remembered with crystal clarity was the moment 6 years ago when I had finally succeeded. I had spent months pursuing Russell, a high-status alpha, and he had finally agreed to be my boyfriend. For a beta like me to win the heart of an alpha was no small feat. When I opened my eyes in the hospital room, there he was. Russell stood by the window, looking worried. My heart leaped. "Honey, are you all right?" I called out, my voice raspy but full of affection. The words had barely left my lips when the door pushed open. Another man walked in. He was tall, imposing, and undeniably an alpha. His face was cold, but his tone was colder. "Who are you calling, honey? Arthur?" the stranger asked, his dark eyes narrowing. "I am your legal spouse." I froze. My gaze darted between them. This newcomer. Wasn't this Zachary? Russell's youngest uncle? "I'm married," I stammered, looking at Russell. "To who?" It took my childhood best friend, George, to fill in the gaps of my missing life. He sat by my bedside later that afternoon, looking at me with a mixture of pity and amusement. "So, you really don't remember?" George asked, playing with the fruit basket on the table. I looked down at my left hand. There, on my ring finger, sat a simple, elegant band. I twisted it, the metal cool against my skin. Is it Russell?" I asked hesitantly. "Russell is my boyfriend. We just started dating." "No, Arthur," George interrupted. "That was 6 years ago." My stomach churned. "Then who?" Before George could answer, the door burst open again. Russell rushed in, wearing a hospital gown, a bandage wrapped around his head, holding an 4-pole high in the air. He looked like he had sprinted from another ward. "Arthur, I heard you woke up," Russell gasped, breathless. "How are you feeling?" Seeing his frantic concern, my doubts began to fade. Surely, the person I married had to be him. Who else would run to me like this? "I'm fine, just a headache," I said softly. "What about you? Why are you hurt?" Russell opened his mouth to speak, but froze. 2 nurses rushed in behind him, scolding him for running with an 4. They fussed over him, reinserting a dislodged needle while blood backed up into the tube. "Don't run around again," the nurse chided. "Visit briefly, then go back to bed." George's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, grimaced, and stood up. "Work emergency. I have to go." He paused at the door, looking back at me. "You really don't remember the accident?" "No," I whispered. The room went quiet. Russell pushed his 4-pole over and sat on the edge of my bed. His expression was guarded, testing the waters. "You lost 6 years?" he asked quietly. "Yes." "So what do you remember?" I felt a sudden flush of embarrassment. "I remember. I only remember that you just agreed to be with me." Russell fell silent. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable. "Russell." I reached out, my fingers brushing his hand. He didn't move at first. Then, after a few seconds, he flipped his hand and gripped mine. His grip was tight, almost painful. I smiled, thinking he was just worried. "I'm okay," I reassured him. "Don't worry." "Good," he murmured. He reached up, his fingers tracing the line of my jaw. His eyes were gentle, but there was a complexity in them I couldn't decipher. "Arthur, do you still love me?" It was a strange question. "I just lost some memories. I didn't forget you," I said with a laugh. "Of course I do." His reaction was immediate and startling. His eyes reddened, and he leaned in slowly, his intention clear. He was going to kiss me. I turned my head. It was a purely subconscious reaction, a reflex I didn't understand. Russell's breath brushed my cheek. We both froze. "Sorry," I stammered, pulling back. I don't know why I did that." Seeing the hurt on his face, I felt a wave of guilt. I leaned forward and rested my head on his shoulder. "Russell," I said, then forced myself to be brave. "Honey, my brain is just a mess right now. Don't be mad." "What did you call me?" Russell asked, his voice shaking. He grabbed my shoulders, pushing me back to look at him. "What's wrong? Aren't we married?" "Say it again," he demanded. "Honey." "Who are you calling honey?" The door opened for the second time that day. The tall, cold man, Zachary, walked in. "Arthur," Zachary said, his voice stripping the warmth from the room. "I am your legal spouse." I blinked. I felt like I was in a bad dream. Zachary was Russell's uncle. He was only 4 years older than me, but strictly speaking, he was my elder. We weren't close. We weren't strangers. We were just acquaintances. What did you say? I asked, stunned. Zachary ignored me and turned his icy gaze to Russell. Russell, get out. Now. Russell, already pale, turned a ghostly white. His hand slid off my shoulders. I felt a surge of annoyance at Zachary's attitude toward a patient. I grabbed Russell's hand. Arthur, Russell whispered. Zachary stared at our joined hands, then lifted his eyes to my face. Are you determined to cheat with my nephew right in front of me? Uncle Zachary, don't joke, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Russell is my boyfriend. Zachary raised his left hand. On his ring finger sat a band identical to mine. Check the inscription, Zachary said calmly. See if mine and yours are a pair. Impossible, I whispered, dropping Russell's hand. My head felt like it was stuffed with steel wool. Did Lucas not come to see you today? Zachary asked. Who is Lucas? I asked. Then I realized Zachary wasn't talking to me. He was looking at Russell. Russell's face twisted in misery. Who is Lucas? I asked again, louder this time. His Omega spouse, Zachary said flatly. My heart plummeted. It felt like a physical weight dropping in my chest. Russell was an alpha. I was a beta. Everyone said it wouldn't work, that alphas and omegas were the natural order. But Russell had promised. He said he didn't care about pheromones. You married someone else? I looked at Russell, betrayed. Arthur, listen to me. Russell tried to grab my hand again. This time, Zachary intercepted him. He gripped Russell's wrist, his fingers digging in with bruising force. Russell grimaced in pain. Arthur, Russell pleaded. I turned my head away. Leave. After Russell left, the room was suffocating. Zachary took off his suit jacket, sat in the chair beside the bed, and began peeling an orange. He acted as if he hadn't just dropped a bomb on my life. He broke off a segment and held it to my lips. I opened my mouth automatically. I chewed, swallowed, and then froze. Wait. Since when were we this intimate? When he offered the next piece, I raised my hand. I can do it myself. Don't trouble yourself. Zachary looked at me, his face devoid of emotion. Open. I pressed my lips together. Do you want me to feed you with my mouth? He asked. I can do that. I snatched the orange segment from his fingers with my teeth. God help me. I felt like he would actually do it. For the rest of the orange, he didn't speak. When he finished and reached for another, I panicked. I'm full. I insisted. He glanced at me lazily. As your husband, am I not allowed to eat one? It's community property. You eat. I muttered, face burning. You eat. The scent of citrus filled the air, making me anxious. Why? I asked finally. Why did we get married? You're an alpha. Russell is an alpha. I'm a beta. Clearly, alphas prefer omegas. Look at Russell. Russell is an idiot, Zachary said. That doesn't explain us, I countered. Is it a business arrangement? A marriage of convenience? Zachary let out a short, cold laugh. He didn't answer. Moments later, his assistant arrived with a stack of documents, and he began working, ignoring me completely. I lay back, thinking. It made sense. My family and the Hahn family had discussed alliances years ago. It was supposed to be my cousin, an Omega, but he ran off. My father had been surprisingly supportive when I chased Russell. Perhaps when that failed, I was simply reassigned to the next available Hahn. Later, when George returned, he debunked my theory. No, that's not it, George said, scrolling through his phone. I mean, sure, the family's approved, but the main reason you got married? You lost a card game. A what? It was 3 years ago, George explained. New Year's Eve. Big party at a hillside mansion. You and Russell had been broken up for a few months. Russell was parading around with that Omega, Lucas. You were. Well, you said you were over it. George described the night. A high-stakes poker game. The pot wasn't money. Everyone there was rich. The pot was a blank check promise, an unconditional favor to be granted immediately. You proposed a bet, George said. Zachary won. You threw down your cards and smiled. You said, name it, Uncle Zachary. What do you want? And Zachary looked at you and said, marry me. I stared at George. He was joking. He wasn't. And you weren't either. You said yes. Russell went berserk. He started shouting, flipping tables, saying it was incestuous, immoral. Zachary just sat there like a statue. He asked Russell, "On what grounds do you object?" Russell screamed about how everyone knew you two used to date. Zachary just said, "I don't care." And I agreed. You spread your hands and said, "A bet is a bet." I don't care either. You told Russell, "It's inappropriate for you to interfere, considering I'm now engaged." I tried to reconcile this reckless gambler with myself. It sounded like something I would do if I were heartbroken and drunk on adrenaline. You told me later, George added, that relationships are just gambling anyway. You spent years chasing Russell just to get a seat at the table, and you lost. Being shoved onto a new table with Zachary without preparation? You said it might be interesting to see who had better luck. I stayed in the hospital for another week. Zachary slept on the sofa every night. One night, unable to sleep, I stared at his back. "Zachary," I whispered. Why did you ask for marriage as the bet? Why does anyone propose?" "You called it a proposal?" I scoffed. "Did I ask you to marry me?" "Yes." "Then it was a proposal." I rolled my eyes. "Fine. But why me? You don't even like me. Go to sleep." "I can't." I got out of bed and crouched by the sofa. I poked his shoulder. "Uncle Zachary." "Poke." "Zachary." "Poke." He ignored me. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Husband." He spun around so fast I nearly fell back. He grabbed my wrist, pulling me close. His eyes were dark, his voice raspy. "What are you doing?" I can't sleep." I squeaked, intimidated by the sudden intensity. He sighed, a long, weary sound. He sat up. "Get in the bed. We'll talk there." We lay side by side. It was a single bed, so we were pressed together. His body heat was radiating through his shirt. "Am I supposed to call you Zachary? Or uncle? Or husband?" I asked into the darkness. "All of them," he said. "Though you usually only use the last one in specific situations." "Specific situations?" "When you need something," he said, opening his eyes to look at me. "Or when you want to beg." My face heated up. "Beg for what?" He didn't answer. "I probably won't call you that anymore," I muttered, turning my back to him. "Since I don't remember liking you." "We'll see," he murmured. A few days after I was discharged, I was living in Zachary's penthouse. It was a stunning place, filled with the kind of avant-garde art I loved. It felt more like me than my parents' house. We lived like roommates. Zachary was busy, often coming home late. One night, I heard the door slam, followed by a heavy thud. I rushed out to the hallway. Zachary was leaning against the wall, swaying. "Zachary? Are you okay?" I grabbed his arm. He looked at me, his eyes glazed. "Why aren't you calling me husband?" "You're drunk," I said, trying to steady him. Suddenly, he pinned me against the wall. The air filled with a scent so thick I could almost taste it. Heavy, musky, like storm clouds and cedar. Even as a beta, I choked on the potency of it. "Zachary," I struggled. "Let go." He pressed his forehead against my neck, inhaling deeply. His skin was burning hot. "You called Russell husband so easily," he growled. "Why is it so hard with me? Do I have to make you comfortable first?" "You're in a rut," I realized, panic rising. "You need an omega." "I don't need an omega," he snarled. "I need you." He pushed his knee between my legs, grinding upward. My breath hitched. He wasn't just drunk, he was drowning in pheromones. His phone rang in his pocket. He pulled it out, hit speaker, and threw it on the floor without looking at it. He began unbuttoning his shirt with trembling hands. "Brother Zachary?" A voice tinny from the floor. It was Lucas. "Are you home? Did the induction work? I didn't mean to trigger your rut early. I hope Arthur doesn't misunderstand." "I can explain, not needed," Zachary said to the phone, his voice dripping with ice. "And there won't be a next time." He kicked the phone away. "Who was that?" I asked, breathless. "Nobody," he said. He looked at me, his eyes wild. My suppressants ran out. "Get out." You told me to get out, but you're holding my ankle," I pointed out. He had collapsed to the floor, gripping my leg like a lifeline. "If you don't leave," he rasped, looking up at me, sweat dripping from his brow. "I will take it as an invitation." I tried to pull away, but I slipped. I fell forward, landing on his chest. He groaned, a sound of pain and pleasure. Before I could scramble up, his hand clamped onto the back of my neck. He pulled me down. His lips crashed onto mine. It wasn't a kiss, it was a collision. He tasted of alcohol and desperation. He bit my lip, his tongue invading my mouth with a hunger that terrified and thrilled me. My body betrayed me, melting against his heat. The doorbell rang. It cut through the haze like a knife. Zachary froze. He panted against my lips, his eyes clearing slightly. "Sorry," he whispered. "That's the delivery. Suppressants." I scrambled off him, ran to the door, grabbed the package, threw it at him, and locked myself in the bathroom. I sat in the empty tub, my heart hammering against my ribs. Why hadn't I pushed him away sooner? The next week, George invited me on a trip to a tropical island to escape the tension. I left a note for Zachary and fled. But when we landed, Russell was there at the airport. "What is he doing here?" I hissed at George. "My brother sent him." George apologized. "He's managing a project here for the Hahn Group. My brother thought he could look after us." Great. We stayed at the Hahn family resort. Russell was attentive, almost like we were back in the dating phase. But I felt distant. The memory of his betrayal, even if I couldn't feel the sting of it, sat between us. 2 days later, I woke up with a fever. I was burning up, delirious. I heard voices in my room. "Let him go, Uncle," Russell's voice said. "You forced this marriage. He's a beta. He needs freedom." "I am not you," a cold voice replied. "Zachary, I don't force things. I'm going to divorce Lucas," Russell said. "I'll make it right. Focus on your work, Russell," Zachary said dismissively. "Leave." I opened my eyes. Zachary was sitting by my bed, holding a glass of water. "You came," I croaked. "I had business nearby," he lied smoothly. He helped me sit up. Did I? Did I have a thing for your chest?" I asked suddenly, the fever loosening my tongue. Zachary paused. "Why do you ask?" I had a flash. A memory. Of licking a mole on your chest. Zachary stared at me. Slowly, he began to unbutton his shirt. "Check for yourself." I blushed and looked away. Never mind. Later, Russell's spouse, Lucas, arrived at the resort. Lucas was beautiful, delicate, with soft curls and dimples. He smelled like candy, but his eyes were dead. "Husband," Lucas chirped, latching onto Russell's arm. Russell looked like he wanted to vomit. "So that's the Omega," I muttered to Zachary. "The one with the 100% compatibility." "It's artificial," Zachary said quietly. He had gland surgery. A legal modification to match Russell's pheromones perfectly. I stared at him. That's dangerous. Desperation makes people do dangerous things. The tension exploded on the 4th day. Russell was rushed to the hospital. Lucas had stabbed him in the gland, the source of an alpha's power, with a fountain pen. We stood outside the operating room. Lucas sat on a bench, covered in blood, laughing softly. He wanted to leave me, Lucas whispered to the air. He said he wanted to fix things with Arthur. So I fixed him. Now he's not an alpha anymore. No one else will want him. It was a tragedy born of obsession. I looked at Zachary. He watched the scene with a detached calmness that chilled me. "Did you know?" I asked. "Did you know Lucas was this unstable?" "Everyone has a breaking point," Zachary said. Russell pushed his. "What about you?" I asked. "Do you have a breaking point?" "A weakness." Zachary looked at me. "A weakness is something that can be exploited. I don't let anyone hold my weakness." "Am I a weakness?" He didn't answer. We flew back home in silence. The events on the island had shaken something loose in my brain. Memories were returning in fragments. One evening, I walked into the bathroom while Zachary was showering. The steam was thick. "I remember," I said. Zachary turned off the water. He stood there, water dripping from his hair, staring at me. "I remember the night of the accident," I said, stepping closer, ignoring the spray dampening my clothes. "You called me. You asked if I regretted marrying you. You asked if we should make this marriage real." Zachary's jaw tightened. And I didn't get to answer because Russell called. I took a breath. "I remember the airport a year ago. An enigma triggered everyone. You lost control. I came into your room to help you with the injection, and you bit me." He looked away. "I apologized for that." "I didn't want an apology," I said. "I told you the service was good." I stepped into the shower stall with him. My clothes clung to my skin. "Arthur," he warned, his voice low. "I remember why I proposed the bed at the poker game," I said softly. I told myself it was recklessness. But deep down, I think I just wanted you to look at me. I think I was tired of chasing someone who looked through me, and I wanted the man who always watched me from the shadows. I reached out and placed my hand on his chest, right over his heart. It was beating fast. I owe you an answer to your question from the night of the crash, I whispered. No, I don't regret it. And yes, I want this to be real. Zachary stood frozen, like he was afraid to believe me. Say something, I demanded. Say you love me. He didn't speak. Instead, he grabbed me, pulling me into a crushing embrace. He kissed me, and this time, there was no alcohol, no pheromone-induced haze. Just raw, terrifying emotion. I love you, he breathed against my lips, his voice breaking. God, Arthur, I love you. The water rained down on us, washing away 6 years of confusion, leaving only the truth. I had gambled my life on a card game, and against all odds, I had won the jackpot.